before.
Why on earth would you want more guns in schools after what's happened today?
Here's why, Piers. If we could suddenly make all guns disappear, I'd have a different position. But I spend a lot of time thinking about this and reading about it. I teach a class at the law school level called Gun Control Seminar, and I get a new group of law students every term, and we discuss this in detail. And the simple facts are guns exist. They are essentially 1800s technology. Even semi-automatics came into being in the late 1800s. They're easy to make. They're not going anywhere. They last several human lifetimes with minimal maintenance. So since guns exist, and we know for a fact that the only way to stop an evil person, like the person you were discussing earlier in the show, is to shoot him, or he's going to shoot himself.
Hang on. This is exactly the argument that I've been hearing ever since I've joined CNN. I joined on air about a week after Gabby Giffords, a congresswoman, was shot in the head. Right, ever since then, we've had the Sikh temple, the Aurora incident. We had the shopping mall last week. Guy downstairs shot in the head from our New York bureau, and so on and so on and so on. And the argument I keep hearing is, well, if everybody else was armed, it wouldn't happen. It's a load of total hogwash, isn't it? No. If everyone had been armed at that movie theatre, twice as many people would have been killed in the mayhem that erupted.
Give an example where people have stopped these attacks and a bystander's been hit. You can't give me one example where a bystander's been hit by a permit holder.
The Empire State Building.
Where a permit holder.
Can I just...
The proof of the pudding
you don't
is that in every other industrialized country in the world,
gun shows
other than the United States,
ranges,
they have reasonable gun control laws, and they have 100 people a year, not 9,000 or 10,000 a year killed by guns.
Guys, listen,
Japan,
but it was lower before gun control there.
Japan adopted strong gun control laws.
And has almost zero crime.
And their homicide rate plummeted.
But the point is, the gun control didn't change it.
In Scotland, in Dunblane, in 1996, there's a very similar school shooting.
Right.
Just an awful situation. 16 young children killed exactly as they were today.
You know what, the two of the
and as a result of this, they brought in a handgun ban. 162,000 handguns were handed in. Right? It is time for an amnesty.
Murder rates went
up.
There's an amnesty in Australia as well.
Murder rates went up.
There are about 35 murders a year in Britain.
But it was lower for another reason.
There are nearly 12,000 murders a year from guns in this country.
The point is,
when are you guys going to focus on that? And stop telling me the answer is more guns. It is not the answer.
Look, listen.
Let's
focus on
than it was after the ban. It was higher than it was before the ban.
So you want more guns, not less?
I'm saying
300 million guns in America isn't enough for you.
When you ban guns,
how many more kids have to die before you guys say we want less guns, not more?
I'm upset about this. He asked me a question.
I want to tell you
something. Let him answer the question.
I'm upset because I worry that the gun control laws that you're pushing have killed people.
Oh, what a lot of nonsense.
Look, you have to explain.
Nonsense. An average of 35 killings from guns in Britain a year. In a place that banned handguns.
But
here,
it was lower
no ban on these guns.
12,000
people a year die from gun murders.
Look, there are lots of differences across country.
You have to understand. Can I please have the opportunity to say something without screaming?
I mean, there is. I'm sorry, but
I just need to.
I've been debating this all week. Following the Bob Costas thing, the shopping mall and so on, following Aurora. I've been debating it for months, if not 2 years. Yeah. I'm so frustrated. I'm so furious that these kids have been blown away again with legally acquired weapons. Some boy who's got problems takes his mother's 3 weapons, including this ridiculous assault rifle, and goes into school and kills his kids. And you guys on the gun lobby still want to tell me the answer is more guns.
Look,
step back for a second before I get to the breaking news, actually. So, you remember, a couple of nights ago, on CNN, there's a 2-hour town hall. And this town hall special was specifically designed to make gun owners, members of the NRA, Second Amendment advocates, feel as though they were morally inferior, as though these people were somehow responsible for the horrors of what had happened inside that school over in Parkland, Florida. And all of that was nonsense, of course. The sheriff of Broward County, Scott Israel, did this beating of his chest and this wailing and gnashing of teeth, blaming the NRA and the availability of AR-15s. Well, now we know exactly why this shooting happened. And it happened because authorities failed on every single level. All of them. It wasn't just the FBI got 2 calls and did nothing. It wasn't just that the Broward County Sheriff's Office received 39 separate calls to this piece of crap's home over the course of 7 years. It wasn't just that. Now we have even more information. You ready for this? I mean, you want to talk bombshells? Here are the bombshells. On Thursday night, the American public learned that Broward County Sheriff's Office was told in November that the Parkland shooter, quote, could be a school shooter in the making, but deputies didn't bother to write up a report. That report came just weeks after a relative called urging the BSO, the Broward County Sheriff's Office, to seize his weapons. Then, here's the even more shocking news. We learned that an armed school resource officer, this one's just mind-boggling, an armed school resource officer at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School sat outside and waited for 4 minutes. The entire shooting episode was 6 minutes. The Broward County deputy was outside, heard the shots, waited outside with his gun for 4 minutes, and did not enter the school. Okay, that attack ended with 17 dead people, including at least a dozen dead kids. And the Broward County Sheriff's deputy, whose job it was, he's the armed school officer. It is his job to rush that guy. He sat outside and he didn't do anything. He sat outside and did nothing. We also know, by the way, that the school's security mechanism was tape delayed. So whatever they were seeing on the cameras was 20 minutes, running 20 minutes behind. So this guy was sitting outside, but apparently he heard the gunshots and he did nothing. Even the Broward County Sheriff himself, Steve Israel, acknowledged this yesterday in a press conference. Shocking stuff. Here is what Israel had to say.
Scott Peterson was absolutely on campus through this entire event. He was armed. He was in uniform. But what I saw was a deputy arrive at the west side of Building 12, take up a position, and he never went in.
Okay, this guy sat outside and he did not go in. Now, a lot of people today on the left are doing this because they want to make this about the guns and not about the fact that there was an armed officer there who did nothing. Instead, because they want to make it about the availability of weapons, they say, well, can you blame him? This guy not charging? Yes, I can blame him. And I don't have to be a police officer or a soldier to blame him. I wasn't in that situation. I also didn't volunteer to become an employee of the Broward County Sheriff's Office and become an armed school officer. That is this guy's only job. You had one job, and when time came, you cowered. And it wasn't just that, okay? Are you ready for this? This gets even worse. This gets significantly worse. This is breaking in the last 15 minutes. CNN reporting, quote, when Coral Springs police officers, this is a different district, when Coral Springs police officers arrived at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, on February 14th, in the midst of the school shooting crisis, many officers were surprised to find not only that Broward County Sheriff's Deputy Scott Peterson, the armed school resource officer, had not entered the building, but that 3 other Broward County Sheriff's deputies were also outside the school and had not entered. The deputies had their pistols drawn and they were behind their vehicles, the sources said, and not one of them had gone into the school. So while this monster was roaming classroom to classroom with his rifle, mowing down students, 4 deputies, 4 armed, uniformed deputies were sitting outside. They didn't get in there to try and save the kids. They didn't get there to try and rescue the kids after the kids had been shot. They waited for an entirely new police department to get there and go inside. There's something fishy going on here, folks. There's something going on here because I promise you, when people sign up to be sheriff's deputies, they're not doing so thinking that they're going to cower behind a car. They're doing so thinking that they want to help save people. So there's something going on. And this thing, Steve Israel knows the answer, and he ain't telling us. Steve Israel, this sheriff, he knows exactly what happened here, and he is not telling us. There's a rumor online that I hesitate to report because I don't know that it's well substantiated. This has more to do with sheriff's policy than anything else. But we're going to find out because something happened here where 4 deputies were sitting outside with their guns drawn and a monster inside massacring children, and they didn't go inside. Are you going to tell me that's the NRA's fault? You're going to tell me that's Dana Lash's fault? You're going to tell me that's my fault living in Los Angeles with my guns in my safe? You're going to tell me that's the fault of 100 million gun owners who weren't there, many of whom would have rushed the shooter and tried to do something, just like what happened in the Texas church shooting, where an armed citizen took down the bad guy? That guy, who's just an armed citizen, did a hell of a lot more than any of these cops did in Broward County. This is insanity. And I'll tell you something that's even more insane. Here's something that's even more insane. Again, remember, just a couple of days ago, it was this schmuck, Steve Israel, who was standing on stage amidst a bunch of the citizens from Broward County and shouting at Dana Lash and telling Dana Lash that it was her fault that all this had happened, that it was the NRA's fault that all this has happened, virtue signaling and posturing about how we just need to get guns out of the hands of bad people. Well, the guns were in the hands of the right people, but they didn't do a damn thing, according to CNN. This is the worst law enforcement failure in modern American history. 17 dead people because there were cops waiting outside who didn't go in there. And here's the thing that's amazing about this, okay? So I ripped on the CNN special because I thought that it was an emotional setup. I think that it was an emotional setup. It was specifically designed to destroy the proponents of Second Amendment rights. It was, I thought, disreputable. I thought it had no news value. It was just 2 minutes of hate. It was Orwell's 2 minutes hate. Okay, but here's what makes it even worse. Well, Israel was doing this. There were questions, right? Because all this came out this morning. There were questions that came out over the last couple days about what Israel knew and when he knew it. Because now we know he's admitting it full on that he had a deputy there who didn't pull his gun and didn't go inside. And now we're finding out from CNN there were 3 more deputies. So the question is, when did he know that? Did he only find out about that after he ripped Dana Lash to shreds, and after he ripped the NRA to shreds, and after he blamed Second Amendment proponents for what happened? Or did he know that while he was on that stage, and is he such a dishonest piece of human debris that he went on that stage and blamed everybody but himself when he's the guy in power, he's the guy with the star on his chest? He's the man responsible for taking care of those kids. That is his duty. That is his job. That is what he was hired to do. That is what he's paid to do. That's what he'll get his pension from. And that guy was standing there. So when did he know it? Well, fortunately for us, CNN reports. This isn't me reporting it. In Daily Wire reporting it. In a right-wing piece of news media reporting it. Ain't Fox News. This is CNN. Okay, according to Coral Springs City Manager Mike Goodrum, on February 15th, the day after the shooting, this is a direct quote from CNN. Okay, direct quote from CNN. The Coral City Springs city manager, chewed out Steve Israel over that malfeasance on February 15th. He approached him the day after the shooting and he said, my people told me that they got there and your people were outside doing nothing. Which means that not only did Israel probably know it, he was informed of it directly by somebody else.